The plan was to go and pursue Manny Pacquiao. I believe I can.
Yeah, because you have a great talent.
I believe I can beat him. Once I get out in the ring and you hear the music playing and you look around, you see all these fans there, that sometimes brings tears to my eyes, like watery eyes. It came down to the point where I had $300. I didn't show them, that we were having some tough times. At times we were struggling.
Did you ever get like a ding on your credit or anything?
Yeah.
Or did it pay a bill?
Because I was late on mortgages because tenants aren't paying. I can't pay it either, so I'm waiting.
I feel like real estate saved my life. I feel like real estate saved your life because imagine if you didn't have those properties.
If I didn't have that, I really would have just gone under. The promoter doesn't pay you. You pay yourself.
Hey guys, so I'm here with my new friend, Mikey Garcia, and let me tell you something, Mikey. I remember like yesterday we were watching the fight, like me and my wife in Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
Before you fought Errol Spence.
Yes.
And I remember like man, what is Mikey doing? Because nobody at your normal weight, nobody even got close to nothing. I remember when you fought Salido and the other Puerto Rican fighter.
Rocky Martinez.
No, the other
Lopez.
one. Lopez.
Yeah,
and I thought, man, Lopez and they might be tough. And you like knocked him down. Like I think Salcido, you threw him down like five, six times. And it was everything looked so easy. And you're really fundamental the way you box. I'm a huge boxing fan, by the way. So I saw you, and then I said, what the hell is he doing fighting Errol Spence? Like I think this guy's like 3 divisions. Like natural, like a bigger guy, right?
Yeah.
So what is he doing? And we saw that fight, but you did a terrific job. Like you lasted all those 12 rounds and kept your ground.
Oh, thanks.
But before we start with that, can you introduce yourself to people that might not know you? I'm sure a lot of people know you, but you're one of the best fighters in the world.
No, thanks. Well, I'm Mikey Garcia, 5-time champion in 4 different divisions. My first titles were back in 2013. I was a featherweight champion, which is 126 pounds. Then moved up later that year to 130 pounds, super featherweight. Took a big break, came back in 2016, and in early 2017 became champion at a lightweight division, 135 pounds. The year later at 140 pound became champion. And then most recently now I'm competing at welterweight, 147 pounds. So I'm pursuing a 5th division, 5th world title in a different division. So you mentioned, why would I do what I did, going from lightweight all the way to welterweight, challenging against the biggest guy. And well, that's what I was about. And that's what I'm pursuing, challenges. That's what motivates me. That's what excites me. That's what's going to give me the drive to get up in the mornings and do my road work and then hit the gym later in the day and then just keep pushing for so many weeks. That's part of what really drives me, the challenge. You mentioned how earlier the fights were so easy for me, or I made them easy.
Yeah.
And if you go back to the post-fight interviews or whatever, I was never as excited. It was always just a simple smile. And if it's so easy, it doesn't excite you. It's not as rewarding. So when I started challenging myself after the layoff, I came back. I made it a priority to challenge myself so much more, fight after fight, and that's what I've been doing. Once I came back, I fought Dejan, like I said, only my 2nd fight back. He was undefeated world champ. Then I fought Lipinets for his title at 140 pounds, my 4th division. He was also undefeated. Then I fought Robert Easter here at Staples Center. We unified the titles. He was also undefeated champion. Then I fought Errol Spence, who was also an undefeated champion, probably the most feared in his division. Yeah. So every fight has been a challenge, and that's the only way that I get excited for my fights.
And Mikey, when you have 2 years of a layoff, is that like when you ride a bicycle and then you don't ride a bicycle for 2 years, you're like, it's natural, like you're still as good, or does it take you time to are you rusty at all?
See, that was a big question, a big thing that a lot of people had doubt that I would come back after 2.5 years. It was exactly 2.5 years that I took off. So a lot of people wondered and questioned whether I was going to be the same Mikey that I was in the featherweight and super featherweight divisions. Now, 2.5 years later, fighting at a third division, is there ring rust? What's going to happen? But throughout that period of time that I was off, I was always actually in the gym, working out, training, sparring some of the other kids that my brother was grooming at the time, helping them get ready for their fights, but at the same time keeping my skills sharp.
Yeah.
So when I came back, there was no doubt that I was going to be, just as good as I was before. In fact, maybe even better with more experience now. Not necessarily experience from getting in the ring in a professional ring, but just from training. You learn things. You pick up things from other fighters, from other sparring sessions. So I felt like that wasn't going to affect me. That's why I felt and I believed so much in myself. And that's why I went after the world title and only my second fight back.
Yeah. And like you still have your power. I see like your power even at 147. You have power like your last fight with Jesse.
Yeah.
You knocked him down, and is like how is it going up in divisions? Does it feel? Were you scared at all that the bigger guy could hurt you or?
Look, it's never been that like fear like that. I've never been scared like for a fight. What does happen is that I gotta acknowledge that I am fighting bigger guys. Every time that I moved up, I'm following. I'm facing somebody bigger, a natural bigger guy. That's gonna be a challenge. So I have to understand that my power may not carry to a higher division, and maybe my punches won't impact him and do the damage that it was in the lighter divisions. So I'm already kind of preparing myself for that. And if I can't hurt my opponent, then I'm a box. I'm gonna use everything else that I can. I'm gonna use my speed, my defense. I'm gonna use my boxing IQ to win the rounds. But fortunately, I've been feeling good. I feel good. I get in the ring, and I know that the fighters respect my power.
Yeah.
So that tells me that my power has carried with me. Now, I am fighting bigger guys, so it might not be as damaging as in the lighter weight classes. I feel just as strong, but the guys are bigger. They weigh a lot more on fight night. On fight night, they're probably 10, 12, or 14 pounds heavier than me on fight night. So my power is not going to be quite maybe the same, but they still respect it. And in the last fight with Jesse, like you mentioned, I actually did drop him. I stunned him right before before I put him down. So I know my power is there. And it's like I said, I'm already prepared just in case it's not.
How do you know that moment when they feel your power? Like how
I see it. I see it in the body language, and I see it in their eyes. The eyes, they're the ones that tell me the first thing right away. They either blink a little bit, they open their eyes, or the way they retract the step, a couple steps back, blinking, stuff like that tells me that they felt.
Do you know that like right away?
Right away.
Right from the beginning?
Right away. It could be a jab that they might not be expecting. It could be a jab that they didn't see, and that jab is solid enough, not a power punch, obviously, a jab, but that's solid enough for them to feel the pop, to feel the power. And that's what tells me right away that the power's still there. Now, if I land a good right hand and I can hurt him, that's different. Physically he's hurt, he's wobbled. Well, that's a big indicator that he hurt. He's hurt.
Now that fight, was the Errol Spence your biggest fight ever? You think?
That's been the biggest fight, the biggest event. We fought at the AT&T Center, home of the Dallas Cowboys. We had over 47,000 people in attendance.
Wow.
That was huge, and for me, and I mean, in boxing, that was one of the huge,
was that like
events.
your biggest payday? That fight?
No, but up until then, yes.
Okay.
My biggest purse was actually bigger for this fight with Jesse.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So that fight actually helped you, right? The Errol Spence. But one thing about Errol Spence is he was destroying everybody, and big guys. And no, everybody was scared of him, and you went in there, and you I kind of feel like in the rematch. Well, how do you feel about this? I feel like if you have a rematch, you could beat him.
I beat him.
Yeah, because I think the going up I think you gained some weight and it kind of slowed you down.
Okay, so going into the Errol Spence fight, I was fighting at 135 prior to that.
Yeah,
and I jumped all the way to 147, right? So yes, I knew I was gonna face challenges, weight differences, height. But like I said, that's what excited me. That's what motivates me. That I know it's a big challenge, and I gotta give it my all, right? So that's what drives me. But maybe I feel that it was a mistake that we hydrated above what I normally weigh, and I'll explain more in detail. So we weighed in at 147 Friday night, right?
Mm-hmm.
I actually weighed in at 144. I weighed in at 144. He weighed in at 147. The next day, is the fight. And I expected Errol to be somewhere 160, 165, somewhere in there. I mean, I can't go in the ring weighing in 147, 148. I felt that's just too much of a disadvantage in weight. So I felt like I needed to hydrate a little more so that the difference wouldn't be so great. So I actually walked into the ring, I think it was like 154, 155.
Wow.
That extra weight definitely, was affecting me on fight night. Normally I never weigh that much for a fight. On an actual fight, the highest I had ever weighed was 148 on the fight. Now I'm moving up, to fight on fight night at 154, 155. It's like if I just added an extra 10 pounds to you right now and expect you to do the same thing that you normally do right now.
Yeah.
You won't last, more than 10 minutes with that extra weight.
Yeah.
So that's what I think happened on that night. Because after 4 rounds, I was gassed out. I was tired. 4 rounds, I was done. I felt very tired, very weak. I didn't feel my power. I felt slow.
And that's so true, because in the beginning you were like
the first 3-4 rounds I was good.
Yeah.
I was sharp. I was on my toes. I landed a few shots maybe, but after the 4th round, once the 5th round started, I just gassed out. Like the tank just went to empty. So I can't give you scientific proof that it was that, but I mean I can kind of say, I feel that that's what happened. That extra weight.
Do you feel like he noticed that you got gassed out?
Well, once I got tired, it was like I said, it was after the 5th round I was gassed out. 4th round, 5th round I was gassed. But he noticed it like in the 8th round, 9th round. He put a lot of pressure. I think it was the 8th or 9th round. He put a lot of pressure. He tried to stop me. He landed a lot of shots. I blocked. I moved. I defended. At that point, I just had to defend. I come to my corner. My brother asked me, how do you feel? Because they saw that, he was on a big attack. And I told my brother, I'm fine. I'm not hurt. I'm tired. He says, well, you got to show me something or I'm going to stop the fight.
Yeah, I remember that.
So then I tell him, okay, give me this next round. So then it was like the 9th or 10th round when I kind of like picked up a little bit, just to show him that I'm still alive, that I'm still in the fight. And I mean, at that point, we're just kind of waiting to see if maybe I land something good. Maybe I hurt him. Maybe he gets a little tired. We don't know, but it's still fight. As long as I'm in the ring, I got a chance.
Yeah.
As long as I'm not quitting, I got a chance. So I fought the rest of the fight, hoping that something would change. Unfortunately, it wasn't there that night. So we just went through the motions and we finished the fight, 12 rounds. You mentioned up until then, he had gone like on a 11, knockout win streak.
Yeah.
Against the top welterweights, where he was knocking out all these welterweights. He wasn't able to do that with me. Maybe my experience, my boxing skills allowed me to survive. But I mean, it wasn't the best night. Obviously, from me, I feel that in a rematch, I do so much better. And I wish I can earn my shot. I need to earn a rematch.
Was he the fighter that hurt you the most or no?
No. Actually, Sergey Lipinets at 140 stunned me on 2 occasions. He actually hits harder than Errol.
Really?
I've said it. Errol Spence is much bigger. So size-wise, you feel that weight. You feel the size. But the power, the pop behind the punches, Sergey Lipinets hits harder. On 2 occasions. Second round of my fight with Lipinets, he hit me with a left hook towards the end of the round, like the last few seconds. And I felt that. As I walked to my corner, I felt that. Like, damn, this fucker hits hard.
Yeah.
Dangerous. He also had a lot of knockouts. Then, I think it was like the 6th or 7th round when I dropped him, we exchanged hooks. It was a combination that we exchanged punches, but then my hook landed like on the chin, put him down, but he also landed a left hook to the temple. As he goes down and I'm walking towards the neutral corner, I felt a little buzz, right? I'm like, God, good thing I dropped him. Because if I had not dropped him, who knows, the next punch probably could have dropped me. As I walked away, I felt that. So Lipinets hits harder. That's what I felt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, that's crazy. Now going back, before we talk a little bit more boxing, like who were you as a kid? Like when you were growing up and coming up? I know your parents came from Mexico.
Yes.
Like how were your beginnings? Like as a kid, were you a poor kid, rich kid?
Well,
I mean, obviously you
not rich. We were never rich.
Yeah.
No, very humble, very humble beginnings. My parents, both from Urequio, Michoacan, small little ranchito, little ranch in Mexico. My older brother was born out there in Mexico. My older sisters, all 4 sisters, were born in Mexico. The only ones that was born here was Robert, my brother Robert, and myself. We were the only ones born here in California. I was born in a 1-bedroom trailer that my dad had at the time. 1-bedroom trailer, and all 7 kids, and my mom and my dad. So the most humblest beginnings, that people can relate to. They were working at that time there in Oxnard. They were working in the strawberry fields. My mom and my dad worked the strawberry fields for many years, something like almost 20 years or something. I still remember them coming home with their clothes from work, muddied and dirty and stains in red, with the little lunch pail, little lunch bag, what we call morral.
Yeah.
With the thermal and all that. I remember all that, So I grew up, in a home. My dad bought a home after I was born, like a year later. He bought a home. So we left the trailer park. We moved to a home, but it was still all of us there. Then, my sisters got older. They got married and whatnot, and my brother. But it was still very, humble. I mean, not making no money really, especially not from boxing. Not at the earlier stages. There's really no money in boxing. So my dad still had that job. He still had the job for many years. They ventured on to try to open up a restaurant that really wasn't a success. Could have been, but they just didn't really pay much attention to it because they were starting to get more focused on boxing. It's hard to focus on something else when you got boxing that you really, really love and really pushing. So the focus was boxing. I mean, I didn't think I was going to be a boxer. I never dreamt of being a fighter. I never dreamt of being a boxer. And I thought that was something my brothers did, not me. I thought I would probably do something with law or like law enforcement.
Yeah.
Or maybe in law school and become an attorney. But never did I imagine being a fighter.
And you're definitely the best one out of your brothers. Why didn't you like boxing?
As a kid, I guess I just didn't really like it. I would see my brother and other guys at the gym like Fernando Vargas and all the other guys, and it just wasn't exciting for me. I just felt like that's not something I wanted to do.
So you don't have to be born boxer, like from 5 years old, 6 years old?
I mean, I grew up in it, and I kind of learned it from even being in diapers because I'd seen it so much.
Yeah.
And then we play around with the gloves. We would borrow gloves and, pretend, like we're fighting with my nephews or my cousins or friends. So we grew up in it, but I never thought I would be a fighter like professionally, right?
When was that time when you said, damn, I could be a world champion. I should take this seriously?
Not till I was already pro, like 20-0 or something, dude.
Really?
Dude, look, it's funny, but I mean, I've shared the story several times, but when I first started, I was 13.
Yeah.
I came out here to Reseda. We were in Oxnard. I came down to Reseda to support one of my nephews. My nephew Pelos, Javier Pelos. That's his nickname, Pelos Garcia. He was having a fight. He was 2 years younger than me. He started amateur, boxing. So we came to support him. It just so happens that one of the kids from the local gym, didn't have an opponent.
Yeah.
So my brother signed me up and says, you're getting in the ring. Now, up until then, I had not had any real formal training. Only like us playing around at the house with the gloves and shit, So my cousins are there. My family's there. My sisters are there. And I'm like, fuck, I don't want to do this. Like, I don't want to.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, I'm like, well, I can't be a bitch and say no in front of everybody. I can't, like say no. Like, I'm scared. I can't. So I said, all right, fuck, let's do it. So I borrowed gloves, shoes, cup, the whole works, right? I did the fight. They turned it into an exhibition because I was not licensed to compete. So they made the contest into an exhibition, which was kind of like a sparring session.
Yeah.
But the kid didn't come there to spar. He came to fucking fight. The kid came to a fight. So he was going all out. So I think I did well. I felt like I did well. They gave him the fight. They said he was the winner of the exhibition. And I didn't like that. I didn't feel comfortable with that. I said, you know what? I'm gonna go back in the gym. I'm gonna start training because I'm gonna get this kid back sometime. And that's when I actually started to train. A few months later, I was 14, and then I had my first amateur fight, real contest. Well, maybe a year or 2 years later, I actually got to fight that kid in a real contest, in a real fight, where it really mattered. And I beat him. I beat the kid. I dropped him in the first round, gave him like 2 more 8 counts, and So I really, beat him. I kind of felt like, the first one didn't go well, but I wasn't training. Now I showed you what I can do. So that kind of, I fought a couple tournaments. It made me realize that maybe there's a possible career here. I'm doing well. I advanced to the national tournaments. I made it. I won a few national tournaments. I placed silver in a few, bronze in a couple. And I was 17. Now I'm like, maybe there's a career here. So we decided to turn pro. Guidance, slowly, moving forward, but still not sure what could happen. Nothing's a guarantee, not in boxing. For all I know, I could get hurt, hand injury, foot injury. You never know. Even training or just a bad knockout. You lose a fight, you suffer a knockout, and that's it. Your career's over. So it was never something that I knew, I'm going to be champion for sure. We'll see what happens. It was kind of my mentality. But when I fought Matt Remillard in Atlantic City, my first HBO appearance as a co-feature, it was his NABF, NABO titles on the line. He was a North American champion, and he was undefeated. He was ranked number 4 in the world. I beat him. I take the ranking, and I take the 2 titles. That really showed me that now there's a very likely chance of me fighting for a title soon. That really showed me, okay, now the chances are a lot closer than ever. I got to give it my all. So by then, I gave 110% to boxing. I put away the other things that I had going. I had gone to school here in Oxnard College. I graduated Oxnard College, had my AA, ready to transfer. But I felt like I could always go back.
Yeah.
Boxing, I can't. So I take advantage of boxing. I had also recently graduated from the Ventura County Police and Sheriff's Academy there in pursuit of maybe possible law enforcement career. But like I said, boxing started to take, that big leap forward. So I put away everything else, focused on boxing. Had a next fight, was here at Staples Center on the Sebastian Zbik versus Chavez Jr. undercard, co-feature. Again, HBO. Now the money's a lot better. So now I'm like, okay, this is what I want to do. Like, this is what I need to do. I got to take advantage of this opportunity right now. And
how's the money different? Like when you're starting,
my first fight was here at the Quiet Canyon.
Yeah,
$900.
$900.
$900.
That was your first pro fight?
First pro fight.
And which was what year?
2006, June 14th or July 14th of 2006.
Dude, $900 to get like.
And that day, so the fight was on a Friday. The weigh-in should have been on Thursday, but it was a last minute call. They called me in. I showed up Friday morning to weigh in to fight Friday evening. My dad goes after the weigh-in, goes to go buy some Gatorades and some little ice box or whatever. He gets his truck stolen. He gets the car jacked. So I lose all my gear. They stole my shorts, my cup, my shoes, everything, right? My mouth guard, everything. My robe. So again, I had to borrow everything for my first pro fight. So I called my brother, who was at an amateur tournament in Coachella, the Desert Showdown, and told him what happened. So they drove down with the team. I borrowed some amateur shorts. I borrowed some shoes, boiled a 99-cent mouth guard to fit, and that's how I found my first pro fight. I made $900 from that, but after what they stole,
did you at least KO the guy in like
4 rounds?
Seconds?
No, it wasn't 4 rounds. It was 4 rounds. Tough guy. Domingo Mendoza was his name. Domingo Mendoza was the guy's name. He was like 1-4 or something. Just a rugged, man that was there to fight. And I went 4 rounds with him. Won a unanimous decision. But that was my first pro fight at $900.
And you were how old?
I was 18.
18.
I had just graduated a month prior to that from high school.
And when did it finally start getting better? Like, was the next fight also kind of like $900?
Next fight was for $2,500. My contract after that, was for $2,500. My promoter at the time, we had a contract where for the 4-round fights, we were getting $2,500. 6-round fights, they go up to $3,000. 8-round fights, they were I think like at $4,500. And then 10 rounds was a bad contract, but that's what you take what you have. It was I think like $8,500 for 10 rounds. However, 3 years later, we renegotiated the contract in 2009, and that was the point when I was about to get into the 10-round fights. Mm-hmm. So my 10-round fights were $12,500. But even 12-round fights had a minimum of $12,500. So it sucked because like I should have made more sometimes, but
and these fights, how often did they happen?
Early in a fighter's career, you fight more often, or you try to fight more often. So I might have had the first year. I might have had. Okay, so that first year in 2006, I turned pro in July. I know I fought again like in August. Then again like November and maybe in December. So maybe 3 fights for that year. The following year, 2007, I probably had about 5 fights, but they're all $2,500 fights.
So when you're starting the boxing, I mean, you can't possibly survive with that money. You need another job, right?
Most everybody has a side job, part-time job. I had the support from my dad. I was staying with my dad. I was starting my family, but my dad was allowing us to stay with him in Oxnard and in his house. So that was a big help. I also had a salary, a monthly salary from my promoter that he would shoot out some cash so that I wouldn't really have to work. Like it was like a part-time thing. Yeah. So he was paying me, I think it was like $1,500 a month, plus whenever I fought, some money there. But you pay your trainer, you pay management or whatever. I mean, you don't make a lot of money when you're starting. It really isn't. I mean, you could be champion and still not make good money. Good money, I'm talking about $100,000 and above.
Yeah.
Prior to that, I didn't make. Okay, so we're talking turn pro in 2006, okay? My bigger paycheck was December 2010. So for those first 4 years, you're barely making it by, like I said,
Yeah. And you said you started your family.
Yeah.
So you were married, kids?
Yeah, my wife and I married her a year after, in 2008. But in 2007, my daughter was born. I had a daughter, so I'm young, 19 years old. Got my daughter, so we're starting a family, So
you're feeling the pressure already.
So there's I mean, you have to be responsible now. Hay que salirle al toro.
Yeah.
That type, you gotta be responsible now. Gotta make it work. But like I said, fortunately, my dad was allowing us to stay with him, and that was a big help. But that was 2006, 2007, 2008. We're barely starting, right? December 4th, the Anaheim Pond, or early December, Anaheim Pond here, 2010. I fought there. I made $25,000, and I felt like that was a good fucking bump. From $12,000 my previous fight to making $25,000. This was
like fight number,
like maybe like my 18th fight or something, maybe something like that. Then after that, I got a chance to fight Matt Remillard for the NABF, NABO title. That was in Atlantic City on HBO, March 20-something of 2011. That was already like, okay, now if I can make it here and do a good performance and HBO calls me back to keep fighting for them, I'm set. I'm good. I made $95,000 for that fight. After paying my trainer, my brother, my manager, and expenses, I brought home $55,000. So that's before taxes too. But now I'm feeling okay. Now we're making some
and when you're
better purses.
And when you box, do you get paid like 1099 or is it
1099? And at the end of the year,
you have to pay your taxes. Okay.
So that was March. Then in June 4th, Chavez Jr. fights here at Staples. I get a co-feature opportunity. I make $100,000 on that one. Brought home about 60. So I put that money together and I bought a house. My first house that I bought was we were already in Moreno Valley by that time. So I bought my house there. Then I fought again October. Yeah, October again HBO. Another pay, good purse, $100,000. I'm 22 years old, and now I'm seeing, okay, now it's good. Now I can live. And if boxing doesn't give me anything else, at least I already bought a house. At least I already got me a house, I bought the house and I bought me a 2010 Dodge Challenger, with that fight. So I felt like even if boxing doesn't carry on further, at least I could say, boxing gave me the house and the car. But of course, the drive is there to keep pushing more. Next year,
point did your wife tell you like, hey, Mikey, stop fighting for $2,500, $5,000? It's not worth it. And
no, because she was supportive.
Did you already know that you could make $100,000 in the fight?
Well, yeah, we've seen other fighters. I knew from other fighters, that we've been around that they can make a lot of money, right? So even though it wasn't like my original plan to be a fighter, but I knew that it could be there one day, But once I landed those fights that I'm talking about, that's when I really said, this is what I gotta do. Like, this is 110%. I gotta put all my efforts here, because if I don't take advantage of this opportunity right now, I'm gonna look back later and really regret it.
Yeah.
Even just that year, 2010, 3 fights, and I'm bringing home about $150,000, $100,000 after tax or whatever. Like, that's good. That's good money for a 22-year-old kid. Shit, that's really good. So I took advantage of that. So that's when I started. And my dad kept insisting, obviously, to make sure I invest my money, put money into real estate, because that's what he's done after retiring, basically, and that's what he kind of got his experience.
I was gonna ask you that question. Like, what made you get into real estate? It was your dad?
My dad had made some good money when he was training Fernando Vargas and in his career. We were from Oxnard. He had bought a nice home there, a duplex that he bought to rent, and we had our home. But then the fighters retired. Vargas retired. My brother was retired. I wasn't anything yet. So he kind of felt like, we got to retire. I need to look for other ways to make a living. So he sold the house. We moved to Moreno Valley. This was in 2010 that we moved out there. So we started looking since late 2009. 2009. We started looking at properties, which they were at the lowest, from the 2008 crash. Yeah. So he was able to buy good deals, good properties.
And were you guys buying multi-units or single families?
Single family residence.
Were you guys financing or paying cash?
No, he was paying cash.
Oh, really?
Well, like I said, he sold the house in Oxnard. He had paid it off.
Did he make a good chunk?
He did make profit, but not what it was in 2007. He sold in 2007.
Yeah.
He would have more than doubled his money.
Yeah.
Now, the crash happened in 2008. We sold the house in 2009. He still made profit, which was good, but not what he could have. But we just never knew. Obviously, it's the way it goes. He took that money and invested out there in Moreno Valley. And so when I started making money the following year, he kept telling me, hey, make sure you buy. It's still cheap. So that's how I was able to afford my first house. And then a year later, I had a few more fights and I bought another two houses. The year after that, I became champion in 2013. I bought my personal home, like a bigger home that I bought for us, and I started renting the other 3. I was defending.
And your properties, were you also buying them cash?
Not all of them. I mean, if I had the money for one, I bought cash, but then others I had mortgaged and just renting them out.
Because all those properties probably are double, triple.
No, they're all more than double.
Yeah,
which was great. Like I tell everybody, I wish I had the money that I have now
yeah.
and the experience.
Yeah,
back then, but you just never know. But we were able to do well with what we had. My house, I bought a house that we bought for me and my family. By then, I already had I was expecting my third baby, so I needed a bigger home. I wanted something nicer, so I bought a bigger house in 2013. But then 2014, that's when I had to take the layoff. Right, it was just political.
Can you talk a little bit about that, or
we can talk.
like what? Because it kind of sucked for me, because and I'm sure for a lot of people that are watching this that are big fans, like you were. I mean, you're still you're right in your prime.
I'm in
right
my
now.
prime. Like
you're 32 or 31.
32.
32. But imagine those 2 years if you would have kept fighting, and
I probably would have retired already.
Really? Yeah.
Had I continued fighting, I had not breaking away from my promotional company that I was working at that time.
But you were on the roll.
I probably would have retired.
You were on the roll. Like, why were you forced to not fight for 2 years?
So this is what happens. Okay, so my contract that I resigned in 2009, like I told you. I mean, it wasn't a great contract, but at the same time, I understand why. I mean, they don't know what I'm gonna do. They don't know if I'm gonna be successful in boxing or not. So they got to be conservative. The promotional company has to be conservative and play it safe. I get it. But now we're in 2014. My contract end date was February 2014.
Mm-hmm.
I had just defended my title January 2014. I expect either a renegotiation or give me my release, and I'm free to go and work on my own or find another promoter. The contract terms were set in 2009 before I was champion. And when I became champion in 2013, I still didn't ask for a renegotiation. So I'll stick with my contract. That's fine. But next year, we'll renegotiate, right? That's what I expected. when I brought up, this to their attention, they said no. The contract has an extension already that applies. What extension is that? Well, if you're champion, you owe us 5 title defenses. Clearly states 5 title defenses. Okay. I only had 1 title defense up until then, 1 title defense, but I had already won a previous title. So is it 5 title defenses from the first championship or 5 title defenses from the second title? Or that was a little iffy, a little unclear. But let's say we owe you 5 title defenses from the most recent title. That means I would owe you 4. So I asked them, well, I'm not planning on fighting at 130 pounds anymore. I want to fight at 135. And I want to fight Yorkis Gamboa. They said, okay, we'll give you the Gamboa fight. Okay, so offer me the fight. They said I needed to sign an extension to the contract in order to get the fight. So then I asked them, why do I have to sign another extension when you say there's already an extension that applies? Oh no, well it's a new contract, so we're gonna renegotiate. No, same terms, but just extend the contract. Period. Like that just make no sense. This is all bullshit. Why am I gonna have to sign an extension to an existing contract just to get a fight? Like, that makes no sense. Let's renegotiate. These terms are back from 2009, before I was champion. Now I'm a 2-division champion. I should be able to renegotiate my contract. Nope, sorry. So I said, okay, so what's next? Well, you're gonna have to sit and wait. So I sat for a few months. Then in May, I filed a lawsuit against them. My interpretation was that I was free unless I defended the title. However, they didn't offer me a single fight for the remainder of the part of the year, right? So in October, 10 months after my title defense from January, the WBO, the organization that I was champion, reaches out and says, hey, are you fighting? You got to defend the title. Like, well, there's no fight for me. Top Rank isn't giving me any fights. Then we're going to have to ask you to vacate the title because you need to be fighting. There's a mandatory title defense that you need to do it once every 9 months, and it's already 10 months. And I explained to them my situation. They said, well, then we need you to vacate the title for inactivity. So because Top Rank wasn't providing any fights for me, I was forced to vacate the title. But it kind of I felt like that would actually work in my favor, because now when I do present this to the judge, he gets to see that the promoter did not give me any fight, and I was forced to vacate my title. Therefore, I have I'm no longer world champion. Therefore, I have no title defenses to offer, because the contract didn't say fights; it said title defenses. Yeah. So they basically breached their own contract. They were supposed to offer me 4 fights under their contract, and if there was an existing extension, then they should have offered me 4 fights in the year. We only did 1. Where's the other 3? So they breached that end of the contract, and then I lose my title because it's their fault. They basically broke contract there again. So when we finally present it to the judge, it just sucks that it fucking drags on forever. Yeah. It was 2 years later. Lawsuits. I tried to renegotiate with the Top Rank. I tried to buy my contract out, whatever it was. I just felt if I can get away sooner, the sooner the better. Even if I have to pay right now, I'm still gonna pay my attorneys or pay you. So let's get this going. They kept denying everything. It took me 2 years to finally go to court, but when we finally did, the judge ruled in my favor. And then we kind of did a thing on the side. We mediation, little thing on the side. Yeah. Little. We agreed, but the judge was ruling in my favor, and that's what really scared Top Rank, that they were in my favor. And so I was able to walk away. I didn't have to pay Top Rank a single dollar. Other fighters that have left have had to pay. From what I know, I'm the only one that didn't have to pay. Yeah. So in fact, winning that lawsuit for me, that's a victory. That was the biggest victory of my career. Because this little Mexican beat fucking Top Rank at their own game in court. He's a Harvard graduate. He's law. And I beat him. This little Mexican. That's how I felt. Like it felt so badass to fucking do that. Against one of the giants. But that's why I was gone for those 2.5 years.
And this period of 2 years, you were 2 years total, right, of inactivity?
2.5 years.
2.5 years. Yeah. Like how much money do you have in your savings, and how are you surviving if you're not fighting?
So I started, my last fight was January 2014. I made, I think, like $700,000 from that fight. Like fortunately, I had put some money away and bought a few homes, like I told you. But from that fight, after paying everything, I probably brought home about $350, maybe a little more.
Yeah.
So I was able to kind of like, kind of use that and try to make some money from the tenants, from rentals and whatnot.
Is that what you had total, or you had a little bit more than that?
I had a little more. But from that fight, I'm saying.
But you didn't have like a $1 million.
I had never made $1 million in a purse. Yeah. I had never made $1 million in a fight. That was actually my biggest fight. My biggest purse was that one, $700,000.
And you weathered the storm for 2.5 years.
Yes.
With that money they had.
Well, it started to really go. I mean, I gotta pay expense. I gotta pay attorney fees. I gotta pay this. I gotta do that. So the account started going down.
Like, how bad did it get?
Got to a point where I had $300.
And this is after Mikey Garcia,
two-time world champion,
undefeated,
two-time 2-division world champion. I had a few properties, like I said, but liquid cash. It came down to the point where I had $300.
You couldn't have refinanced them and pulled out money?
I mean, we could have, and I could have, and I had looked at a lot of options. Had this got worse, I planned on maybe selling one of the houses and starting using some of the money to maybe flip and use, and then maybe refi one of them. And so there was things that I could have done, but I try to just hold on to as much as I can, But it came to the point where at one time, literally, I only had $300. So I went to the grocery store and I bought food for my family for the next week, until I was able to, make some money from this tenant, and this guy pays this and I got to pay that bill. And so it was a hustle, man. It was a struggle. I bought it. I still was able to buy a house during that time and kind of flip it. But like that money wasn't just like, oh, I'm good, I'm clear. No, that money is to pay all these bills and mortgages and insurance. So
it's kind of like an investment deal. You gotta found a good house. You got it. You sold it. You made that money and
just to pay off what you owe. It was one of those things where I had to really be working to make that dollar to keep things going, to keep living, to keep eating. So I had to obviously budget very tight, keep a tight budget. Try to cut the expenses as much as we can, and
So something very similar happened to me when I started my business. I was growing it, and when you start a business, you go out of business like the first 3-5 years because it's the hardest to survive.
Yep.
And I remember the next you start hiring employees and doing all these things, and for a point I was losing like 80 grand, 60 grand every month.
Damn.
So luckily I had real estate.
Yeah.
So I started selling one, I sold another one, I refinanced a few, and I was just surviving.
Just
to survive for a year and a half until everything just worked.
Yeah.
But crazy, and I never told my wife anything. And I know you told me behind the camera, what's that feeling when you have, like, let's just say $700,000 in your bank account, and then you're down to 300, and you're Mikey Garcia. Like, everybody knows who you are. Yeah. World champion, undefeated, and your wife and the kids think everything is
everybody.
Cool,
everybody thinks they only see the glamour, the lights, the glitter, the success. But I didn't show them that we were having some tough times. That at times we were struggling. I didn't want to have my kids question or wonder or feel sad, and I didn't want my wife to worry about it either. So I didn't tell her. I never told her. Not until everything was fine a couple years ago.
Yeah.
I actually shared the story to her, and I only shared it to her because I was sharing the story to one of my friends who does a lot of my flips, my construction, my remodeling. I was telling him, and he says, "Really?" I had no idea. I'm like, "Yeah, there was time where that's what happened."
You're a good salesperson.
But you just have to. I felt like it was my responsibility. I gotta provide. I gotta figure this out. I gotta figure out how I can, keep, my head above water. It's hard to do sometimes, but you gotta do it. Yeah. So I don't want to have. If I'm already worrying and stressing out myself, why do I want my wife to do it?
Oh yeah.
And then pass that on to my kids and my daughter, or have them, So I just didn't want that for them. Yeah. So I just I said, I gotta do what I gotta do, and
I know the feeling, and us as the man of the house, like, our energy is going to transfer to our families.
It does.
And
that's what I mean. That's what I've seen through my dad. You're the man of the house. You provide, you do what you got to do to make, bring food to the table, that kind of thing. So that kind of, transferred onto me. I learned it. So when it happened to me, I didn't even tell my dad. I didn't tell anybody. I fucking had to do it. I had to fucking, push and fucking make it happen.
Yeah.
And there's a few moments where, like I said, the counts you're at $1,200, $300. You're up at 5,000, but then you gotta pay everything. You're back down to $600.
Yeah.
Like you just can never do it.
No.
But I was able to just at least make it through.
And I know the feeling. Were you also like racking up some credit cards and all that stuff?
Actually, on the credit cards, I was pretty conservative with that. I would really try not to use them, because I don't like to use them that much. But I did during that time. You start here, you do this, and little by little you start adding a couple $1,000s, but I just never wanted to go above. And I made sure I always try to pay, so that I wouldn't get in this big,
Did you ever
debt.
get like a ding on your credit or anything?
Yeah,
Or didn't pay a bill? Like,
because I was late on mortgages because tenants aren't paying. I can't pay it either, so I'm waiting. And then here's the payment later, and then this is late, and then this. So yeah, it happens,
Crazy.
But then one of the most happiest moments was 2018 after Staples Center fight here against Robert Easter Jr. Undefeated, unified WBC and IBF junior lightweight.
This was your second fight back?
No, this is like 2 years later or a year later. It's like, I don't know, 3 fights ago. I fought Robert Easter Jr. here at Staples Center. We had a great, 12,000 people in attendance. I unified the titles, and I beat Robert Easter. Now I'm the IBF and WBC lightweight champion of the world. I'm undefeated. I made very good money on that fight because it was a great turnout. I paid off everything that I had. I had a few mortgages still standing. I paid them off. I paid the homes. I paid the car, and I put money away for the kids. I did a lot of things because I just felt, I was in that place to just get it over with, get it done. And that was one of the happiest moments. I felt like I was on top of the world.
And I know that now you have, we could go through your car collection. I saw that you have a Phantom, a Rolls Royce Phantom. You have quite a few Lamborghinis. Yeah. You don't have Ferrari, huh?
No, I'm not a Ferrari guy.
I know
you got the Ferrari, but I'm not a Ferrari guy.
But you have all those cars, and all the cars are paid off and everything too. So everybody sees that now, and real estate investor and all that. But I feel like real estate saved my life. I feel like real estate saved your life because imagine if you didn't have those properties.
If I didn't have that, I really would have just gone under. I would have had to go back to Top Rank and ask them for whatever fight they can give me, and I'll drop the lawsuit and just forgive all the legal fees and sign whatever contract they could have given me. And I think they tried. I feel like they did try. It was a year into the lawsuit, and they approached me, not with the formal offer, but they asked my brother Robert to kind of talk to me about it. They said, hey, would Mikey be interested in fighting for the WBO lightweight title that Crawford just vacated? Crawford moved up to 140. He vacated his WBO lightweight title. Would he be interested in that fight? My brother asked, well, what kind of agreement are we talking about? Is it a new contract? What's the purse for the fight? Show me the terms. And he says, well, we're looking at somewhere like $200,000 for the fight. Just $200,000 for the fight. And then we can negotiate all the contract bullshit later. So my brother asked me. I told him, I don't even answer them. I feel that what they were doing, they were kind of fishing to see if I was desperate, if I was already in need. Yeah. If I would have taken the fight, they would have got me for a fight for $200,000. When my previous fight was for $7,000, all of a sudden now it's for $200,000, and now they're not gonna renegotiate no contract. Now I'm champion. Now they got me for 5 more fucking title defenses. That's what they're gonna say. So I said, nah, bullshit. Because under their contract, every time you become champion, 5 title defenses. So it's a never-ending contract. Fuck that. I told Robert, don't even answer them. Don't do that.
So Mikey, who taught your dad about real estate? Was it accidental or like how did you?
It was by experience and accidental type. He made some decent money when he started when he was with Fernando Vargas and whatnot, but he didn't have no education. He didn't have no one teaching him about real estate. He bought a house that he wanted for us, for me and him. Yeah. My mom, nice home there in Oxnard, a brand new home that the track development was developing right there. So bought a home for us. He had already sold the home where I grew up, but he had also bought a joint duplex to rent, and he owed a little bit of money on him. But the house that he bought for himself, he paid off. It wasn't until we left to Moreno Valley that he got into the real estate game. He thought about retiring. He wanted to retire. He saw that there was no real big money coming in from boxing at that point. He's no longer training fighters. I wasn't doing anything yet. So he thought about, how am I going to retire comfortably? So he sold the house, moved out there, bought himself a house, and figured I'll rent a few others that I can afford and live off of the rents. And then, a couple years later, once, his social kicks in, he'll be living, comfortably. That's when it all started. It was 2010. We moved out to Moreno Valley, and he bought a few properties. Then, as the time went by, he bought another one, and now he's doing well.
He stacked up quite a few properties now?
A few properties, rental properties.
Is that his main income now?
Yeah, that's I still pay him.
Yeah.
Just because he earned it. The way I see it, he was my trainer, and he worked with me since I was 14 years old. My brother's been training me, for about 7 years now, but my dad has always been there, guiding, teaching.
Does he still kind of train you, like mentor you, or
he won't do physical because it's just he's older. He's 75 now. This upcoming October he'll be 75.
But does he always give you advice on fights and that kind of stuff?
Advice and guidance, and he's always observing right there, telling me what to do, how to do things. So he's always very involved.
I could imagine that he has way more experience than your brother. So does he see things that maybe your brother doesn't see?
Actually, the other way around. My brother sees things that my dad doesn't see.
Oh, really?
And I'll explain to that right now. But with my dad, I still pay him because he's worked so much and he earned it from all the years.
Yeah.
That it's unfair for me to just not pay him. And he says, you're not paying me. You don't have to pay me. But I still treat him. I still give him a gift. I still treat him well because it's like, no, you earned it for all the years, So I still give him his checks. I bought him a truck last year, just surprised him with a brand new truck. And then I still pay him for his fight. And this last, still paying him just for all the time that he put in there, right? So even though he's no longer doing physical work with me, he's still very involved. Now you mentioned, maybe he has more experience. Yes, he does have a lot of experience. But my brother has a fighter's experience, a former world champion. He himself was a world champion back in 98. So he has experience as a fighter and now also as a trainer. Whereas my dad only had it as a trainer. And as a fighter, my brother can see things that sometimes a trainer isn't able to see. You can read a fighter's body language if he's tired or if his expression isn't showing you that drive or that motivation. Maybe it's time to give him a little break. Why keep him in the ring for an extra 4 rounds and let the kid take punishment when maybe it's better to just take a day off?
Yeah.
So that's something that my dad wasn't able to see and my brother can. And that's why I think my brother's camp is probably the best training camp in the world, the best stable, because all the fighters are good, up-and-coming, strong fighters that are happy to be there. They're looking forward to the gym. They're looking forward to training camp. My brother says that when he used to train, and Fernando, same thing, they dreaded going to training camp. They hated training camp. My dad was very strict. Now, I'm not saying that's not good, but his technique of training, his style of training was what we would now say old school.
Yeah.
It worked, but I'm not saying that's the only way it can be done. So my brother has kind of changed it a little bit or molded it a little differently to where now all the fighters are looking forward to training camp. And we're all happy to be there and excited to go to training camp and train. Whereas back then they dreaded it. But it still made my brother world champion.
I didn't know there was old school and new ways for boxing. Because for real estate there's the old school of how you get business, and others the new way of getting with marketing.
Yeah, I'm sure. You gotta adjust. You gotta make adjustments as time moves on.
There's more technology too that helps you.
There's different tools. Back when Robert, my brother, was boxing, the theory or the consensus was, the week of the fight, you gotta cut all that water weight. So they start dehydrating on Monday, start cutting the water, weigh-ins on Friday. So for all week, you're all dehydrated and shit. Now we're drinking water right before we step on the scale. But the training has not that the training changed. The boxing aspect has always been the same, but the diet version of it, the diet aspect of training has changed. I don't wear no sauna suits. My brother used to train in sauna suits all the time. I started wearing sauna suits when I first started, but then after coming back, after working with a few conditioning coaches that have kind of opened our eyes and showed us how to really do it, Now I don't wear no sauna suits. I haven't worn sauna suits since
Why is that?
since 2013.
Why is that? Is there something bad about it?
We were used to always wearing the sauna suit daily. Now it's okay to throw a little warm jacket, a little sauna suit if you're gonna just sweat a little bit more. That's fine. But we were taught or told that you have to do it to start cutting weight like that. The real way to cut weight is just with the food, the way you eat. Working out and eating right, you'll start dropping weight. You don't need the sauna suit. You only throw it on for the weight cut, the last few 5-6 pounds, because it's water. 8 pounds maybe if it's water. Throw it on for 1 hour, hour and a half, maybe 2 hours max, and you're done. Whereas before you were doing it every day, even sparring sessions.
Wow.
Well, how are you gonna spar so comfortable with the fucking sauna suit?
Yeah.
But that was that's what you were taught back then. That was the process. That was everybody did it. So and if everybody does it, I guess it's right. Well, I'm not saying it's not you're not able to do it, but there's other ways to do it too.
Yeah, of course.
So you got to be able to adjust and
no,
kind of.
Now, Mikey, hitting that topic of nutrition and how you take care of yourself, like we kind of mentioned liquor, and when you came in, you mentioned it a little bit. I heard you say you don't drink. You don't drink?
No, I wouldn't consider myself a drinker. I'll have a drink now. Early, never. I didn't start drinking until I was 26. After a year after I was in that hiatus.
Yeah.
That's when I actually started having a drink on occasions because I wasn't fighting.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, let me get a drink and then or something,
Yeah.
But I had never had a drink till I was 26.
Wow.
And even now, like I said, I won't consider myself a drinker because I don't drink every opportunity that there is. I don't drink every weekend. I don't drink every meal. And even if there's a party, I don't drink every single time that there's a party.
Got it.
I'm selective of a few occasions where, okay, I'll have a drink or 2 drinks or, maybe more if it's at home and we're with the guys there at home watching a fight or something. Maybe I'll have more. Maybe I'll have
when you come
drinks.
to one of my parties, you'll have some drinks.
If it's a private event that I know I'm comfortable with, I can have 2 drinks, 3 drinks, especially if it's at home. I don't have to go anywhere. I don't have to drive.
Yeah.
So I'm very selective of who's around or what I do.
What about your diet when you're not fighting compared to when you're fighting? It's super strict.
It's very different. Obviously,
like do you like?
I fluctuate a lot.
Do you blow up in weight when you're not fighting or?
I right now for me, I'm heavy right now. I would say I'm fucking heavy. But maybe you see me and be like, no, you're not.
Yeah.
Well, if I'm fighting at 47 right now, I'm fighting now. I'm weighing in at 147, right? Right now I checked this morning and I was 167. So you're still talking about 20 pounds, but that's a lot of overweight. Like I said, I feel big right now. I feel fat right now. Maybe someone says, "No, you look good." Well, I feel fucking heavy because I'm not training. I'm not doing the stuff that I should, But I like to start like today. I actually started running a little bit today. I'm starting. I want to start losing weight because I don't want to be big like this. It doesn't. I'm not used to it.
When is your next fight and when do you start training and how long does it take you to cut?
We don't have an exact date right now because of the whole COVID pandemic. It's hard to come with dates. So right now I feel like I'm way overweight. So I need to start cutting weight, eating better and doing some exercise so that when time comes for a fight, I'm not struggling to make weight, So that's what I'm gonna start doing now. That's what I just started today. It was first day.
Yeah, I was starting today too. Funny because I was like we went to Puerto Rico and kind of
vacation. Yeah. Well, I mean Puerto Rico, the food is bomb.
Yeah,
been there twice.
Especially the mofongos.
Mofongo, hey dude. So I'm gonna start working out right to cut some weight because I don't want to be overweight.
Are you still training?
I'll start. I'm gonna start training. I'm barely gonna start.
How long did you take off?
Since I fought, bro. I haven't been to the gym since
the Vargas fight.
Since the Vargas fight.
Yeah.
I actually started going a little over a month ago. I went for like 2 weeks, but then I kind of slacked off again. But once I get that date, normally it's gonna be 10 to 12 weeks of training camp for that fight. Even though we're training already, but we schedule 10 or 12 good weeks of training camp for that fight. And we pick up the pace as the weeks go. We peak training camp will probably be like 3 weeks before the fight is when you peak, and you kind of taper down. The last 2 weeks you kind of taper down. It's on average about 12 weeks of training camp.
Yeah. Now, Mikey, I don't know if you could share what's your biggest payday, but maybe we could just talk about let's just say a boxer makes $1 million for a fight, and when they make $1 million, like how much do they keep?
It sounds very beautiful. It sounds great.
Yeah.
I keep cutting you, but I'm excited to talk.
Yeah, no, we could go for as long as
okay, so it sounds great when someone says, "Oh, he's making $1 million." What the fuck? He's making $1 million for that? Right away, I know that's not what really happens, But the audience, the fans, don't really understand how this works. So, on average, a fighter pays anywhere from 30 to 40% for training camp, for your training, and for your management, right? I'll give you my examples. So when I was a top rank, I had my manager, Cameron Duncan, was a co-manager, 15%. My brother, who was my trainer and manager or co-manager, making another 15%. And my dad for being the trainer and 10%. So that's 40% right there, okay? I never made $1 million when I was a top rank. But had I made $1 million, 40% right away goes to them, to my management and it's family, but still, it's not in my pocket.
Yeah. I
still got to pay my training camp. My training camp, on average, you're talking about minimum $50,000 for training camp, which covers your food, your sparring partners, your cook, and equipment and whatnot. On average, minimum about $50,000 for me. And then if you have an assistant coach, assistant trainer, conditioning coach, fitness coach, strength coach, whatever, that's also on the side.
Yeah.
That could range from $20,000 to $100,000 or more, right? Sometimes they want to do percentages. I'd rather do a flat, a fee, but anywhere from those ranges. So you pay 40% to your team, your trainer and your manager right away. But then you also got to pay your training camp. That's another $50,000, and then another $20,000 for your strength coach. That's another, $70,000 there. So out of $1 million, you take away the 400 away. That's you're left with 6. Reduce another 50 minimum for training camp. You're at 550, and throw another 20 for the, coach there. So you're at, what are we now? 520 or something? 500,000.
Yeah,
about 500,000.
Cutting. So keeps cutting more.
So your check is about 500,000.
And then taxes.
And you got to pay tax on that.
And then if you buy like a Lambo or a Rolls Royce,
then you can't afford it. But let's just say you pay taxes. So that's another 40% just to be safe. Out of 500, 40%, that's another 200. So you're at 300,000 to your home. Mm-hmm. Out of $1 million purse, you're bringing home $300,000. You go ahead and buy a new Huracan Performance at $300,000. You're left with no money. So, I mean, I see it all the time.
Yeah.
With fighters, young kids that are buying expensive cars or jewelry, clothes, because they're making the money right there. But it's. I mean, I didn't buy my first car, my first exotic. My first car was a Challenger. Paid $37,000 for it. Okay, and I had bought the house at the time. And I didn't buy any other exotic car
until recently, right?
Till my birthday in 2018. So in 2018, in December 2018, I bought my first exotic, my first car, my Lamborghini. That was what 12 years of my career, 5 world titles, 4 divisions for me to afford one car, whereas others are doing it so early on, right?
That's what messes them up.
That's what happens. That's
so safe to say that in the last year you've added all these cars.
Oh, yeah.
Your life has really
my life has changed to the next level. I mean, everybody talks about the cars because that's like a way to really show like, oh, he's successful. But
it's different from the fighters that get it.
I'll tell you, I got 12 different rental homes and apartments. I got this apartments. I got other. People don't get excited for that. People don't want to hear that. People want to hear about the cars and what do you drive? And I mean, yeah, okay, cool. I get that. But I didn't do that early on. I bought homes instead. I flipped homes. I did this. I did that. So people don't get excited for that.
No.
People get excited for the cars. But lately, I say, I got to treat myself also. So I bought these cars. Yeah, I bought some very, high-end cars, exotic cars, rare cars. I like to buy rare exotics, I guess. I mean, just unique cars.
Yeah.
And I can tell you about them if you want, but I'm saying, I mean, if you've seen some of the stuff, it's unique stuff.
Yeah, no, I mean, I saw a video day in the life of Mikey, and I saw your garage and everything. But what I really what I really appreciate about you, that a lot of our people are gonna see, a lot of Latinos, millennials that are kind of lost, and they get all caught up with the cars, but they don't understand that, hey, before you get into that, buy a few properties.
Yep.
And learn about credit, taxes, and all this stuff, your debt,
Yep.
like, learn how to use debt, not get it all like credit card.
No.
Did you ever have a mentor or somebody that taught you that? Because you paid off all your debt. I know that from a fight, you got recently you got I think, maybe I'm wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, but you got 3 large checks. And I remember you said one check you put it away for taxes. Who does that?
I kind of learned, not only I didn't have one mentor or that I can say this guy's the one that taught me. No.
Yeah.
But I've learned from just watching and seeing and hearing, my brother, my dad, they were the first one. My dad was the first one to kind of always say, hey, make sure you put money away for taxes. Make sure you do this. Make sure. So that was kind of you could say my mentor, my dad, my own dad. Yeah. That he's seen it with other fighters. He's seen it in other people's, careers. And so he didn't want that to happen to me. My brother himself went through it when he was champion. So then kind of that helped me, But then most recent, I have met a lot of other influential people. And I learned from everybody. I don't necessarily have one person, but I have everybody. I talk to this person and I learn from him. I talk to that person and I learn from him, and so on and so forth, right? So when you get paid for a fight, you don't get paid one large check all at once. They give you a guaranteed check, which was agreed upon at first. That check you should get right there in the fight. But then the rest of the monies that come in, or at least for me, it works this way. For everybody, every other fighter, they get one check and that's it. Until they get to that next level of a pay-per-view or something huge, right? But for most everybody, they should get one check.
I thought you got your $3 million check all at once.
Depends on what the agreement was. everything's negotiated.
Yeah.
It changes. If you're the type of fighter that has an agreement with one promotional company that says your minimum is $500,000, and that's what you're getting guaranteed, then that's what you're gonna get. On fight night, you're gonna get $500,000. Okay. I've been able to negotiate different deals. I'm independent. I work with different promotional entities. I work with different managers. I've worked with different TV stations or streaming services. So I'm free. I'm in a unique place. I'm probably the only fighter in this day and age that's doing this, that I'm not signed to a network, that it's not signed to a promotional company, that's not signed to a manager. I'm my own person, right? So
you're a very smart guy.
I'm the only one right now that I can think of that's in my place, my shoes. I'm not saying it's the best way.
That's probably making you more money than you ever did when you were.
It's worked well for me.
Yeah.
See, I'm not saying it's the only way to do it. No, for other fighters that have the right connection, the right deal with the promotional company or with the right network, and it works well for them, fine.
Is it true that a lot of promoters take advantage of boxers and take their money, or is it more of the boxer?
Look, we talked about that all the time. And
yeah.
Okay, so let me give you a quick. If I offer you $10 million for a fight, right, and you accept the fight, you accept it. You didn't budge and you didn't negotiate. You accepted the fight. So happens that 2 years later, 5 years later, you find out that there was $15 million on the pot, or generated, $15 million generated. Oh, he stole $5 million. No, I didn't. You took the fight for 10. You accepted the fight for 10. It's your fault if you blew away 10 million. If I would have given you 15, you would have blown 15. So whose fault really is it at the end? If you really look at it that way. Now,
it's an agreement. So
if you agreed for whatever purse, then you agreed. Now there is the portion of the promotional side. They look at their pockets first before they look at the fighter. So a promotional company that does business that way, if they get, say, 15 million, or they feel that they're going to generate about 15 million, but they get you for $6, $8, $10 million, they're trying to see if they can make money for themselves too. Now that's their business. So if I'm in the promotional seat, if I'm in the promotional hat, I'm gonna look after my business first. The fighter's responsibility and his manager is to make as much money for themselves, right? So that's where the negotiation comes in.
Yeah,
you got to really negotiate. Now, in my case, like I said, I've worked with different people, and I do all my negotiating myself. But I've learned so much. I've done it. I'm here. I learned through the lawsuit. I learned from that. I learned, how
experience, right?
Exactly. So that's able to help me do what I do right now. But for other fighters that are not in the same place that I am, because they don't have the experience, they don't have the people around them, they don't have the relationship, they don't draw the same people that I draw, the fans, then for them, it's best to maybe get a secured guarantee purse per fight, minimum of 4 fights a year or 3 fights or whatever. And that's maybe the best deal he can get. So I can't say that it's the best deal for everyone, because some fighters can't do it. If they try to do it on their own, they might not ever do anything. They might not ever make it, because they're not the draw. They're not the moving entity that does it. With me, I was fortunate enough to be able to do it, and it's worked well for me, and things have been going great.
Because there's fighters they can't draw anything, right? They're great fighters, undefeated. Nobody wants to fight them, and they don't make any money because nobody wants to. Why does that happen?
Like,
you think it's
popular? I haven't mentioned any names. I don't know if you want to mention names, right? But
you can mention any names, but if you want to keep it,
I'd rather just keep it private, because I don't want to say any names.
I'm sure we could connect the dots.
But okay, I know of fighters that are, regarded as some of the best in the world, and multiple time champions, and on the top pound for pound listings and all that, right? But then they come to Staples or New York or wherever arena, and they get 3,000 people there, or they go to Vegas and they get 3,500 people in there. That just shows you they're not a draw. They could be the greatest fighter, greatest champion, but if they don't draw the fans, if they don't sell the pay-per-view, if people don't tune in to watch, then they're not gonna get paid. The promoter doesn't pay you. You pay yourself. If you put seats in the stands, if you sell pay-per-view or sell the rights, then you get paid. Yeah. The promoter's the one that writes the check, because he's the one that's putting the event together. But the promoter doesn't pay out of his pocket. You pay yourself. So for some of these other fighters that are somewhat regarded as some of the best fighters in the world, but just can't get the big paydays, it's because they're the ones they're not generating. I'm fortunate enough to be able to generate. I have a big fan base. That's why I really love my fans. Not only for the purses that I'm able to make, but because they take their time to go fucking see me. When I walk out into the arena and I see that the arena full of people there to support me.
Are you nervous, like, before a fight, somebody's going to, knock you down maybe, or maybe this is the fight?
When I'm in the locker room before the fight, I'm actually just like this, laid back, chilling. We're laughing, joking around until it's time to stretch up and warm up, whatever. But the ring walk, once I get out in the ring and you hear the music playing, and you look around, you see all these fans there and the people they're trying to reach over to shake your hand and all this, that gives me the butterflies. That sometimes brings tears to my eyes, like watery eyes. Because for me, it's unbelievable that I'm there and all these people are there to see me. It's just me. They're there to see me. They took time away from their daily lives, their daily schedules. They maybe went shopping. They maybe traveled. They put kids, to a babysitter, whatever they had to do to be there. That's so meaningful for me. That's the biggest feeling, like the greatest feeling I could have, right? So that's why I'm so grateful for them. So whenever a fan comes up to me, I give them their time. I autograph, shake their hand, picture, whatever they want, because I owe it to them. Because if they're willing to pay to come and do all that to see me, then I owe it to them to give them that time back, right? But I'm never nervous for the fight. The fight, no big deal.
There's fans that even don't pay their rent to go see the fight, or they sell stuff.
They'll sell stuff. They sell they'll mortgage their
cars,
crazy. Sell their car or mortgage their house. I've heard of stories that, it's insane. Yeah. So because of that, I'm as accessible as I can be.
That's awesome, Mikey. That shows how you're such a great person, and I feel like when you give, and when you want to give the best out of you to help people, like, that always comes back in money. Your money always comes in. The fact that you never gave up when times got tough, you fought it out. You didn't want to make your family nervous, and you just kept believing in yourself. Yeah. And always focused on, I want to help these people. These people are here to watch me. Like that, everything came back to you.
I'm so grateful for everybody supporting me. Even during those 2.5 years that I was gone, people kept asking, when is he fighting? When is Mikey fighting? They kept asking my brother. They kept asking the reporters, when is Mikey back? When is Mikey fighting? You got to come back. Whenever they would see me. So I love that support, right? So that's why I made it, like I said, a priority that when I came back, I'm going to give the fans the biggest fights I can. Fight after fight, big challenge after big challenge after big challenge. Because that's what I owe them.
Yeah.
No, I'm not here to protect undefeated record. I'm not here to move around certain fighters because I want to keep winning easy fights. Fuck that. That's not.
And I wanted to close it with that. Like, this is what I see, and you also tell me if I'm right or wrong. But I see you as the fighter that doesn't give a shit about the record. Like for example, some fighters like Mayweather, for example. Mayweather, he's a great boxer, undefeated, and I like Mayweather, but it seemed like all his opponents were like kind of handpicked for a perfect record. I see you that you want to fight the toughest opponent. And you really like if you like the loss, you lost and you took it well, and you're like, okay, I'm not here for the best record. I'm here to fight the best fighters and leave and maybe one day be known as the best fighter ever. Is there some truth to that?
That's pretty accurate. You mentioned Floyd. See, I wouldn't agree when saying that he picked certain fighters because of a good record. He did choose the right opponents style-wise and stylistically that would allow him to fight the way he fights. Very defensive, moving around, boxing around. He never fought a tall, lanky boxer. He never fought Paul Williams when the fight was offered to him at that time because Paul Williams was a very difficult guy. He never fought those kind of guys because he knew those are, fights that weren't going to make him look good. So he fought always the guys that come forward, a little raw, maybe not as skilled, maybe not as talented, but still with obviously a good record or former champions or recent champions or whatever. But guys that he was going to box the shit out of them, right? But skill-wise, I still got to say that Floyd has, from what I've seen, he's the best that I've seen. Skills. Now, there's contrary, there's different opinions on what he could have done or should have done, whatever. But needless to say, that's his career, whatever.
Do you think there's somebody that could have beaten him?
No.
Not in this time.
The one that would have, like I said, Paul Williams would have given him a tough fight because it's just a difficult style. He never fought those styles. Like in my case, I'm not afraid to fight someone that's going to be a difficult style. Robert Easter was tall as fuck. Tall guy. At 135, I still fought him. Then I went to fight, Errol Spence. Tall, left-handed, very good boxer. So fuck it, heavier in weight. Fuck, let's do it. I just want to be fighting the best.
Yeah.
The best that's available and the best that we can give, the best fight that we can give the fans. I'm not trying to protect the record and let me get easy title defenses so I can just keep winning championships.
Do you feel comfortable at 147? You think you could? That's going to be a permanent stay?
I'm gonna stay there for right now. I'm trying to secure a fight right now. Like I said, well, maybe not right now, but the plan was to secure a fight after the Jesse Vargas fight. The plan was to go and pursue Manny Pacquiao.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about that. Would it be cool to fight Manny Pacquiao?
Should be the greatest. I mean, that'd be like they say, the cherry on top, the icing on the cake type.
No, he was beaten. He was knocked down by a Mexican.
He's still a living legend.
Yeah. And
if I can share the ring with the legend like himself, that's like I said, the icing on the cake. But what would be even better, me beating him. And I believe I can.
Yeah, because you have a great counter.
I believe I can beat him. So that was the fight that we were trying to push for before the whole pandemic hit. But, we'll see what happens. If things start picking back up, I've heard recently that they're still interested.
Yeah.
So
would you ever consider middleweight, 154?
I did a few years ago when Cotto was his last fight.
Yeah.
I actually approached Golden Boy to do that fight for me. And even though it was at 154, but again, and now I'm picking the right guy at the right time. Cotto, maybe not the most natural 154 pounder, not the tallest, on his way out, his last fight after he, had a great career, but always on the last fight. Still champion at the moment, but at that point I would have picked him. I would have fought him. I asked Golden Boy to do the fight for me. Didn't work out. The negotiation didn't go well. We didn't come to agreement, so I didn't do it. Right now, I probably wouldn't fight at 154. It's too much of a weight class for me. 147 is already a big fucking weight class. It's huge. The guys I'm fighting, they're all, like I said, they're a lot bigger, naturally bigger. So I don't think 154 would happen for me. I mean, but who knows? Maybe later, maybe after I become champion at 147, you're gonna see me at 154, challenging myself at 154.
I would love to see that Errol Spence a rematch because
I want that rematch too.
Yeah,
I just gotta earn it. I gotta earn it. I think the best way to earn that is fighting Manny and beating Manny.
Yeah.
If I beat Manny,
that's right.
Then I earn my shot at Errol for a rematch.
Yeah, no, because Seal could tell you, like we spoke about it in the beginning, but I was like cheering you on the whole Errol Spence fight, and I remember my daughter Italia, she fell and cracked her mouth open, so I remember that day especially very well, and I remember the beginning of the fight. It was like back and forth, back and forth. Like he wasn't beating you. Like it was even.
The first,
and then after that is when now you explain it makes total sense.
First 3-4 rounds were competitive. We're pretty even. I felt good the first 3-4 rounds. I know I landed a couple shots that he respected. You know, he felt, you know, decent, you know, power from me or decent skills out of me.
Yeah.
But then after that fourth round, once that fourth round was over, or fifth round, whatever round it was, I was just gassed out. It was just, I was done. And the only thing I could think of, like I said, is like if I add a 10-pound weight vest on you, of course you're gonna tire a lot sooner because you're not used to carrying that weight.
So for the future, is something like that Pacquiao does that, where he just comes in his natural weight and he's much quicker. Is that something you would do?
With this fight that I did with Jesse, I weighed in, I think like 44, 45, but I came to the fight, I think it was like 49 on fight night. I felt more comfortable this time. Maybe next time I probably won't. Maybe don't even go all the way up to 149. Maybe I stay at 46.
And he was probably like 20 pounds or 15 pounds more than you.
Jesse, I'm sure he hydrated well. I'm sure he was close to about 58, 60 somewhere in there. Cause he was a big guy. He's strong.
Yeah,
he was strong.
Was he as strong as Spence or not like that?
Size wise, they're pretty much almost identical. Cause height wise and physical size, pretty much right there. I told you the hardest puncher that I faced, Lipinets. These guys have a similar, size.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you say? Errol Spence was like the second best puncher?
I mean, Lipinets definitely number one. Number two, I think I'd go with Spence. Because prior to that, I'm trying to think of other guys like that.
And really quick before we end it, because I don't want to forget about this. I saw like one of the first fights that I started like really liking you a lot was one of the fights where I got nervous because they dropped you with a straight right. I think it was Roman
Martinez.
Was that the one? And he just hit you like straight and you fell. And I don't know if was that your first knockdown?
That was actually the second time I went down.
Did you get nervous at all, or because you seemed kind of smiling when you fell down?
Yeah. So I remember the fight clearly. I'm trying to catch him, so I'm trying to take a step forward with a 1-2, which is a jab followed by the right hand. But as I'm doing that, he also threw his short little right hand, clipped me right on the chin, and I went straight down. So it just put a smile on my face, like, this motherfucker caught me, So I turn around, I smiled at my brother, I winked at him, like, just give him, I'm fine. So I'm waiting for the count. Referee's right here, 4, 5, 6, whatever it was, 6. I get up, 7. Now I'm trying to be as smart as I can, I walk to the neutral corner, of course, the furthest neutral corner. I didn't just stand right in the middle. I want to get as much space as I can, because even though I feel fine, who knows that next punch? Maybe I need another second or two after the fight, resumes. Maybe I need another second or two to really clear my head. And if I'm closer, then he's gonna fucking just tag me a lot sooner. So I'm still thinking of a lot of things. So even though it happens like that, but I got so much in my head and experience just visualizing, the fight and rounds, and so it's like training. It becomes almost like a natural thing. So I went to the first corner, waited there. Okay, you're back to 5. Okay, come on. And I still stayed. I didn't go after him to try to get him back. No, let's just survive. Let's clear my head. A few rounds later, I started putting on the pressure, starting to attack, and I think it was the 8th round that I dropped him with a body shot.
Yeah.
8th round. But I didn't get nervous.
Did it help you that you were dropped once before? When you were dropped for the first time, was that like kind of life changing, or you took it well?
No, I like I said, I took it well because, I prepare myself for all these things. I do a lot of visualization, right? Yeah. So
you don't like watch film on all your opponents?
Not a lot. I'll watch maybe a round or two, if that. That's it.
Well, why is it that you decide to do that?
My brother and my dad will watch more film,
and
kind of warn me of certain things or advise me on certain things. We get the sparring partners that can emulate the style, but I'll just watch 1 or 2 rounds and I'm like, I'm good. What I do a lot, like I said, is visualization. So I go by round by round, for many times. For the entire training camp, I'm always replaying the fight in many ways, round by round. Rounds where I get dropped or where I get hurt. What am I gonna do? What am I, So when the fight actually happens, nothing surprises me because I've already done it in my head. I've already gone through that. So I already did basically the training to not be, nervous when I get dropped. Okay, I got dropped. What do? Get the fuck back up. But don't go after the attack. Because what if you do get caught? Just be smart. But as I've done it so many times, it's almost like just like embedded here. So I don't have to really get prepared for a knockdown or a swollen eye or a broken hand or whatever. Like I go through all these scenarios in my head, round by round, for the entire fight, many times. So I'm already trained.
When you break a hand, you have to keep fighting, huh?
Yeah, I broke a thumb once here during a fight. The first time I got knocked down, it was like my 14th fight. I'm fighting this kid, Walter Estrada. He's Colombian. He's like 36-3.
Yeah.
Solid, fighter. And in the third round, he drops me. He's a southpaw. Straight left. I moved back thinking I'm far enough to make a miss, but he clipped me and I go down. So I'm waiting there.
Was it kind of like the Roman knockdown or was it?
Similar.
Did you smile too? Like when you were falling?
I smiled, I'm sure. I got up and he came on the attack. I'm moving around, surviving, whatever. The next round, I'm like, okay, now I'm going to put the pressure to kind of make up for the knockdown. So I threw an overhand right, but he's southpaw, right? So I kind of like curved it a little bit, trying to get him on the side. And I actually landed my thumb on top of his head.
Ooh.
And it hurt. So then for the rest of the fight, I actually turned southpaw and was just kind of touching with my right hand because now it hurts. And I'm trying to load up with my left. It actually worked out because he, as a southpaw, most southpaws don't know how to face another southpaw. I can still fight as a southpaw, at least decent, to where I was able to kind of pick and see that he wasn't comfortable. So I kept fighting as a southpaw, because my right hand was hurting.
Yeah.
So I fought the rest of the fight like that. That was an 8-rounder. This happened in the third round, and I fought the rest of the fight like that. I won, unanimous decision. I wasn't able to knock him down, but it was a clear, easy win.
So for everybody watching this, don't study your opponents. Just visualize worst case scenario, and then visualize you being the champion.
It's good to study. It's good to study your opponent to see some things, but like I said, that's kind of like what my dad and my brother do the most, and then they warn me about things, and then maybe I'll play it and watch it. Oh, okay, you're right. For example, Jesse.
Yeah.
He likes to throw a left hook a lot. Like he kind of
that's where how he caught Timothy Bradley.
He kind of like dips down a little bit and throws that like long left hook.
For that.
I was prepared for that. I've seen Jesse in the past. I know Jesse, so I've seen him. I knew that.
He's kind of wild, right? He'll
swing hard. He'll swing with everything. So I knew that was gonna happen. So I was always, cautious for that. I was always, waiting for that.
Did it feel good dropping a natural 147?
I mean, I think it feels good and it looks good for all the media and all the press and everybody out there that's still doubting whether I can compete at welterweight or not. Like, hey, he just dropped a fucking real solid 147 pounder. So obviously the power's still there. But for me, it's the same thing. It's just I just gotta win the fight. That's what really matters.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome, Mikey. We went longer than expected, but I love everything about from you being world champion, pound for pound considered one of the top. And then from being a smart real estate investor, knowing how to manage debt, and just having a lot of courage.
Sure,
and you're a big inspiration to especially our Hispanic community that they feel like they can make it. And you're
I've always, whenever I do, I do public speaking or for schools or colleges or, podcast shows, stuff like that. I always like to, remind, the people that follow me and support me that, I share my story with where I come from with my dad and my mom, because, people can relate to struggles, to overcoming struggles, and in search of the better life. And no matter what, where you come from, that's not going to dictate where you're going to be or where your limits are. Yeah. Like we put our own limits. If we set the bar high, then we get there. And once you get there, you got to set it even higher. Always got to keep climbing. So like with kids, I always tell them if you're from a humble, background, poor background, family struggling, whatever, that doesn't mean that you have to go through that too. you may have come from a broke family or humble, background, but that doesn't mean that you have to be in the same place. It's up to you to put in that work and shoot for the stars and reach high, and keep doing everything you can to get there.
Yeah.
I was at the kids out there in Oxnard. I went to go talk to some first, second graders, and different attention spans. So I got to talk to them a little differently. They're kids, but I asked them, hey, do you guys know who I am? And yeah, you're Mikey Garcia. You're a boxer. Hey, you drive a badass car, whatever. I'm like, do you guys know what cars I have? Yeah, you have this, you have that. Okay. Do you guys know what my dad used to do for a living and my mom? Like, no. Like, they used to pick strawberry fields right outside of the school, right outside. Like, really? That's my dad, that's my mom, that's what they do. Like, exactly. So that means you guys can do whatever you want too. That doesn't mean that you guys have to, think that your life is here. I mean, your life can be as high, as great as you want to dream.
Yeah.
You just gotta get there. Getting there is what is gonna be the most rewarding.
Yeah.
Because it's not as rewarding when someone gives you something.
Yeah.
But when you earn it and you put in the time and all that energy and effort, that's what really
and
value.
And your mom was in the strawberry field when she was pregnant, right?
Up to 6 months.
That was you.
Yeah, that was me. She was working.
Maybe that's why you got that work ethic.
She was still working till her 6 month of pregnancy from me. She was carrying me. I still working in strawberry fields, and my dad was there, of course. And she stopped working 6 months.
And the way you express about your parents, it seems like they mean a lot to you, right? They were always there for you. And are they still both healthy?
Yes, they actually. My mom just left to Mexico this past Sunday, 2 days ago, to go visit family out there. We still got some family out in Mexico. They're healthy. My dad is healthy right now. He's I think 75 this upcoming October. So he's had a lot. He had a lot of struggles.
Yeah.
He's had a difficult life. He's had a rough life, full of experiences. And he's able to kind of show us, and from his stories, we also learn as a family. Or I learned, that no matter, like I said, where you come from, doesn't dictate where you want to be or where you want to end up, where you're going to end up.
Right.
It's up to us. It's up to me.
Yeah.
And I want to be remembered. I'm not done.
Yeah.
I want to be remembered. I want to leave a big legacy. I want to be, remembered for the ages. I keep telling people I'm never going to die.
Yeah.
I'm immortal. I'm never going to die. Well, physically I will, but my name will keep living. My name, my legacy, my whatever I establish, whatever I leave behind will continue to live forever. So my name will never die. Yeah. That's the vision that I have for myself and for the rest of my family.
Yeah, you're visualizing how your kids are they're gonna be with their friends. They're gonna be like, oh, Mikey was your dad.
Yes.
You ever think about that?
I'm preparing for my grandchildren and great grandchildren.
Yeah.
I'm waiting. I'm planning things. Sometimes I don't even want to share because then people sometimes just think, oh, he's just talking out of his ass. But I want to leave something behind, and I want to work with the Children's Hospital. I do a few things. Not really directly with them, but I put fundraisers together, or I'll put events together and bring toys to the kids, or do stuff like with the holiday season, stuff like that, right? So, because I have kids, and fortunately they haven't been sick, they've been healthy, but there's kids who are sick, who are dealing with illnesses, and they're in the hospital during awesome. Celebration. So I want to give them some smile, put some smiles on.
Yeah.
So I felt like I want to establish something, a foundation, organization that will always be funding and donating to a hospital.
Yeah.
Whether that be $50,000, $100,000, $200,000 a year. If I can put together a certain structure of business that can provide that type of help to a hospital, or maybe more hospitals. Maybe I do, 50,000 to 4 hospitals, whatever it may be. But I want to help so that even when I'm gone for 10, 20 years later or whatever, those kids are still benefiting from what I established now. And my kids can be the ones that can, hey, that's you're the son, or you're the daughter, or you're the grandkid to that foundation that's helping that's what I want to leave behind.
Yeah.
So that's the thing that I have envisioned for me. That's what I'm saying. I'm never gonna die. I'm immortal. I'll never die. And I know everything that I do right now is getting me to that point.
Yeah.
It's a step closer. You invited me. I know I'm gonna reach an audience.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna gather their support to help me establish what I want to establish. I didn't know you, but I took this as an opportunity to meet you, meet new people, and reach the audience. I take advantage of all these opportunities to reach, an audience. If I can inspire, if I can motivate people to reach their goals or to overcome an obstacle in life, that's me being a world champion.
Yeah.
I always tell people, if any point in your life you had any struggles and you had to overcome something, but there's something that I might have said or something that you heard and they helped you, and 20 years, 15 years, 10 years, whatever, 30 years later, you come across me, if you could share that story, please do, because that would really prove that my goals were to help, inspire, and they were accomplished. I accomplished my goal. I inspired, I helped, I did what I had to do, and it was rewarding. Like, it helped them accomplish their dreams or whatever. So I always tell them, whenever I do these shows, that, like I said, I came here. You said, "Can you want to come?" Yeah, I'm there. Why? I'm taking this as an opportunity to reach, all these people, because that's what I want to do. That's what I love doing. Yeah. And I want to help everybody accomplish, whatever it is in dream that they have in life.
Yeah. That's so awesome, Mikey. So, like, I can't wait to be at your next fight. Yeah. And go on a little double date one of these days.
Yeah, we'll definitely do it.
And I'm sure you visualized the rematch, you knocking out Errol Spence, right?
I win, man. I never wanted a fight as much as that one.
Yeah.
I believed in myself so much. It just so happens that night didn't work out for me.
Yeah.
But that's okay, because I learned from that. Yeah. And I don't want another fight as much as I want that one.
Yeah, and I can't wait for it, Mikey. So thank you so much. And where can people follow you and get more information?
On Instagram, obviously. Instagram, they can follow me at Team Mikey Garcia. And
we'll put it down below. Yeah. And that's your favorite place?
Yeah, that's where I'm most active. I also have a Twitter team. The Twitter's just Mikey Garcia. The Twitter's just Mikey Garcia.
We'll put the handles below. And then also I heard that you're very active on your Instagram, right?
On Instagram, that's me. That's me on Instagram. I handle it. And I reply, I'll message back. It's hard to go through every single one, obviously, but I'm active on it on Instagram. That's me.
That's awesome. Well, thank you, Mikey.
Hey, man, appreciate it, man. Of course, man. Anytime. Thank you.